Hey everyone, my name is Rooster, and welcome back to Mechabellum. Today's video is going to be a crazy comp of mine, but I thought it was a fun one and a bit of a highlight during my stream, so I was going to show it anyway. Whether or not it actually works, you'll have to find out at the end, but yeah, it's not often that I get to build boards like this one, so do stick around for it. I'll be up against Sin Bizumu. I hope that I pronounced that correctly, and he'll be starting with a Typhoon Specialist with Void Eyes and Spiders. Nice aggressive pack there. I decided to pick Stormcallers and Crawlers. I'm not sure if I selected it or if I ran out of time while yapping to chat. That might also be something that happened, because Speed Spec Stormcallers not really a common pairing, because typically Speed Spec is nice with, you know, more aggressive units, like for instance that Spider. And I do put my units at the front lines at first, but then I realize, wait a second, my opponent is Spiders, Void Eyes, and Typhoon Spec. And Spiders are great at headbutting, so I probably just want to back off a little bit and, you know, kind of play around my unit's strength, which is at this point going to be range. If I ever manage to get Assault Stormcaller, then, you know, maybe going that far up would be nice, but that's not something I can guarantee. I expect him to go Crawlers, which he does. The one thing that he's missing right now is Chaff. He already has DPS in the form of the Void Eyes, and he has Chaff Clear in the form of the Tarantula. And for me, well, I have DPS. Those are the Storms. I have Chaff, and all I'm lacking is Chaff Clear. So here are the Arclights. There we go. Round number 1. And I'm quite surprised to see that he's playing defensively, or at least playing a more long-range comp, because that's not something that is very typical of spider boards. It's not unheard of, and even at the high MEMES you will see it occasionally, but aggressive spiders are definitely more popular. And as you can see, as long as we clear the chaff, the Stormcallers are going to do a great job. I think they even managed to get an almost instant lock. And yeah, round 1 here, going to do just fine for us. As there's only one Void Eye left, it'll do its very best. Opponent not opting to go for the energy absorption there, but don't think it would have mattered in the outcome of the first round, and we do pick up a win. Of course, opponent will get that Typhoon Paraspike on round number 4, and speaking of Paraspikes, unit reinforcements show up on round number 2. Now, Sledgehammers look pretty decent to me here. I really do like those level 2 Steel Ball, level 2 Sledgehammer packs that you can get, because Sledgehammers are tough to kill, man, at level 2 on round 2. There's not much that can deal with them. But the one downside is they don't shoot up. And they also don't necessarily provide like an amazing amount of DPS. So I was debating between the Sledgehammer and the Marksman, and I think I end up settling for the Marksman after all, just because it kind of solves my anti-air situation. And I mean, that's kind of the main reason there. Sledge, though, would have been totally acceptable to pick, and you could probably go for the Steel Ball there as well if you really want to. Just to try and pressure one side. I decided to pick up another Arclight in the middle because I was afraid he would add more chaff to try and distract the storms, and so having an Arclight in the middle should be nice. And then I pick up 2 more sets of units, 2 Fangs to be precise, right in front of these Arclights on the side, and the reason for this is I still wanted to try and funnel these Crawlers of his into my Arclights if possible, just so that they wouldn't split up in an awkward way. Now let's see how this goes. Opponent also picked up the Marksman, makes sense, and goes for another level 1 Marksman. For now, I only have the 1, but I felt like my Storms were plenty in terms of DPS, as long as I could clear the way. The Marksman was just kind of there to help out, and while it does more than that, certainly doing a good job of getting rid of that first Spider. Arclights, though, both getting stuck on a Spider. At least they're able to take down the remaining Crawlers. But man, that is a spread out board of Void Eyes. Very hard to deal with. Marksman sadly will fall. His level 1 Marksman levels instantly because of our Loot Pinata dying. And yeah, opponent striking back instantly. So main problem here seems to be that my Arclights don't have range. And my plan was to range them immediately and pick 2 more of them. However, additional deployment slot shows up, and I really cannot pass that on round 3. It is so early, and we'll be able to get so much value out of it that I really want to use that. So we are going to buy more Arclights, but we're going to stall that range for at least one more round here and make sure that we get all 4 deployments down. Double crawlers here on the flanks to kind of arrive late, pressure those diagonals on the side, because as you can see, there wasn't anything there. Opponent does add a spider on the right, but doesn't seem to have money left to put one over here as well if he wants to make use of all of his deployments, because he went for additional deployment slot too. Okay, ends up going for a spider on the left as well, so we'll just hold on to 1 deployment, which is certainly not ideal, but in this situation it does kind of protect against that crawler. And, I mean, we're in a good setup here. Now, seeing him double down on the tarantulas, I'm thinking to myself, I don't mind going for double Stormcaller. And already I was planning ahead. Next round, I will get 800 resources, round number 4. If I want to get range on the Arclights, that'll be 300. 2 more sets of Stormcallers will get us up to 700. And then I'd still have another 100 left to make use of our additional deployment slot and get a, let's say, you know, another Crawler or a Fang. That was my idea heading into this round. It does seem like we might lose. Yeah, Marksman there, slightly too tanky, but still, we take out a good number of them. And with only a Void Eye pack left alive as well, can't really complain about that one. Pretty decent round. However, we went into this round with a plan. Opponent picked Supply Enhancement, not a big fan of that. I don't particularly like this card on round 3, which is the earliest it can show up. I definitely don't like it on round 4. To me, it takes too long to pay off, and you're basically paying resources at a stage of the game where they matter more, right? Having 150 to pay this early on is going to be way more valuable and a much bigger portion of your income than, you know, starting to make 50 profit on round 7 or round 8, depending on when you pick this card up. But what does pay back immediately is subsidized Stormcaller. Yeah, my plan already was to get more Stormcallers, but now seeing this card and, well, me being on stream at the time, I thought, oh, you know, heck it, let's just use the additional deployment slot and immediately start profiting off that subsidized Stormcaller card. It only costs 100, so we only need to buy 2 Stormcallers to break even. We do better than that. We buy 4, and already we've made 100 profit here, getting up to 6 Stormcallers total. Opponent with a Typhoon on our flank, but I think this Stormcaller should turn for it. And yeah, we're doing a decent job here of trying to just space out the storms as much as we can. I am running range and overload as well as AP and incendiary bomb. Oh, Typhoon going to go back to the main board from the looks of things. And yeah, I mean, Stormcaller just looks fantastic into this board, right? The only problem is, I guess, the crawlers, and he did add more of them, so range on the Arclights is still something I want to get, I swear, but the game keeps like throwing us these amazing cards, additional deployment slots, subsidized Stormcaller, that I'm having to delay the Arclight range. And honestly, it's not doing too poorly. Stormcallers as well can chaff clear if you get a ton of them, and you manage to stall the enemy chaff. If you just keep them in place, then those missiles will do a decent job of clearing crawlers, and, well, aside from that, they do a really good job at killing some of the bigger, slower targets like those spiders. So you can already see storms are starting to pay off as we take down the remaining marksman and the remaining tarantula. And yeah, suddenly our board is starting to look quite scary. Round number 5, there is Steel Balls, Farseer, Overlord, and Mustang offered. Steel Ball and Overlord here not looking too great. I think Overlord in Standard is a bit weird. You don't see it that often. Mustang we could go for. I mean, anti-air would be nice, but I decided to go for Farseer instead because, well, Farseer is also anti-air, but I don't really need to invest into it too much, and it's more missiles. And if my opponent wants to try and intercept, I thought, well, first of all, I can just keep buying more storms. I am running overload as well as range, so we can click those techs. And then I could also go more into Farseer and just, you know, have so many missiles that it's just not possible for him to intercept everything. Opponent does end up going Mustang, but they're blue. And if you want to try and intercept with Mustang, really, you'd ideally not have them at level 2. You would want them at level 1, because well, when they're intercepting with their main gun. So they're not going to be shooting at my units. And well, we'll have to see if he actually wants to go for that, because it can be a liability. Yeah, okay, he decides to go for range instead there. I guess the other concern would be that if he goes for missile intercept, he probably can't get range. If I go Mustang and I range my Mustangs, I should be winning that mirror. I end up not doing it though. Instead, 2 Farseers, range on the arc lights. Finally, we get it. And then I believe that we just buy a bunch more Stormcallers. I think 1, 2, 3. And we're already up to a total of, I think that'll make 9, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, quite a lot of Stormcallers. No techs as of yet, but I am eyeing range and overload, especially now that I see those Mustangs. I want to make sure that he has no chance of intercepting, and I think we are getting there now. Like, with the additional deployment and the subsidized storm, I don't think intercepting is viable at all. There's just way too many Stormcallers, and he doesn't have enough deployments to be able to make up for how many I already have. On top of, yeah, the techs that are available to me. But look at that. Stormcallers blasting the opponent. And suddenly he finds himself at 1850. Yeah, when all of them survive, they start dealing quite a bit of damage. Round number 6, nuke does show up, but I just decide to skip. Opponent does the same thing. I didn't really care for it. It was a 3.7k hit points, so I just thought, you know what? If you want to use that spell, go ahead. I'll just, you know, keep using my money to reinforce my boards with yet even more Stormcallers. Yep, you saw that correctly. 1, 2, 3, 4 more Stormcallers. Range and overload have been clicked as well. I mean, what a turn. We are loaning, but I mean, our opponent is very low on hit points to a certain extent. I can probably close it out in 2, and so I felt like loaning was a good play here. Opponent, though, correctly goes into an air unit. And not just any air unit, the biggest one that we have currently, which is the Abyss. He does pick up that efficient maintenance so that he doesn't have to pay the upkeep, and I would think that's sensible. Missiles probably the best tech, you know. My Stormcallers likely won't be moving much, so stationary targets easy to hit for those missiles, but I get that he believes he needs to win at least 2 or 3 more rounds, and so making sure you don't have to pay the upkeep is a sensible move. You should also be winning this first round that it comes down, you imagine, because all I have is, well, 2 Farseers with no range that should get in front of my Storms, and then a level 3 Marksman that's on the wrong side of the board. Yeah, I may have purchased a few too many Stormcallers, if there's such a thing. I think there definitely is such a thing, but we were just having some fun, man. Like, look at those cards. How can you not pick them? Farseer, yeah, going to shoot a couple shots at that Abyss, but that's about all. In the meantime, though, there's not much left on the ground. In fact, there is absolutely nothing left on the ground for my opponent. But man, okay, we do get debuff, and actually my Marksman is still alive. Another debuff, that's gonna stack up to a total of 18 seconds. And now my Stormcallers are just going to act as chaff after all. They're zooming in with the additional speed from my Specialist. And I guess I didn't need to have more anti-air. I always knew that this was going to be completely fine. Not really. I thought I would lose that, but we'll take it. Round number 7. Big red spell. Lightning Storm available. Other cards, not really that useful. Steelable production line can only be put on giants, not titans. And I don't have a giant, and, well, neither does he. He has the titan, so I think skipping makes the most sense. I guess he could go for the storm. Yeah, he does pick that up. I thought that he would, but again, I felt like I had more pressing matters, and honestly, we weren't struggling at all with the ground. Like, the ground for us is really easy to deal with. My Stormcallers can't shoot up, so they have to have something to shoot at. No point in picking an expensive spell that will just remove all the targets for my Stormcallers, because that's the one thing that I can deal with. Instead, I have a little bit of money left, and here I'm thinking, okay, I probably need to grab something like a Melter. Any alternatives? I mean, maybe we could try to go like a Marksman, but it's a big unit. 78,000 hit points. That's rather tanky. I don't quite trust it. So we are going to go for that Melting Point. And here I'm first going to click range, then I realize, oh shoot, I have no money left. So let's undo, buy the sell button, sell a Farseer since it's outranged by everything else on the board and it just keeps feeding. And then we have a little bit more money left to buy, oh you guessed it, another Stormcaller. And so I believe that we are now up to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 Stormcallers. Is that my all-time record? It might be. Opponent goes for loose formation crawlers, which I don't hate. All I have currently is Arclights. And he also goes for another Abyss. However, as I say that, maybe the missiles would have been a better pickup. Crawlers are distracting nicely though, and well, we don't have that much anti-air still. I bought one melter, but with all the loans, didn't quite have enough money. Seems to be fine on the right side though. Abyss locked on 2 marksmen here, completely safe in the middle, has started to work away at that Abyss. We might need a tower debuff because this one is going to take slightly longer for the marksman to kill than it would for the melting point, and he's currently busy walking at that right side tower. We do get a debuff, and that debuff is going to help the marksman clean up that Abyss, and with 450 hit points left, that is simply going to be a win on round 7. Yeah, I apologize for this game, but I had to upload it. It was just, you know, it's not often that you get to play something like this and get away with it. It was the perfect situation, the perfect cards. I got additional deployment slot, subsidized Stormcaller into a very good matchup. I think he probably shouldn't have tried to play standard, or if he wanted to, maybe sold out a spider, because it's very hard to deal with Stormcallers in this type of long range format, and it's just not really what tarantulas are made of or made for. Maybe with like spider mines you can try and make something work, but I'm getting so much value here out of additional deployment slot and subsidized Stormcaller that intercepting is just not really an option either. And so at that point, what you're left with is probably, I don't mind the chaff play, and I think going into air is correct, but it was just too little too late. Like, all of the ground units just died instantly to the storms, and then because I had so many storms, we could just use them as chaff, even though our anti-air wasn't the best. Maybe he should have gone for something like Wasp, although that would buy him a turn, and then I would still be alive and be able to buy Mustang, and then you're back to kind of the drawing blocks. Maybe not Stormcaller, Sandworm, the other unit with an S, could have been a good idea, because at least that can, you know, get close and personal and kind of mitigate the advantage that Stormcallers have, which is that they are very, very long range. Anyway, if you liked this video, please leave a thumbs up. Let me know down below what you think of the Stormcaller spam, and how much you hate me for it, or how much you like me for it, if this is something that you really enjoy. If you want to stay up to date with my latest content, please consider subscribing. If you want to see me play live, check me out on Twitch. With that being said, take care guys, and see you in the next video. Bye-bye.